Hi, everybody. Welcome back to VCTV. We've got a fun, as always, episode for you today. It is Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, which means we're going to continue the fun and excitement we had yesterday, which was Star Wars Day 2. Today, which again is Cinco de Mayo. Nonetheless, we're going to be talking about business inclusion from an investing standpoint and from a fundraising, along with a building standpoint as well. What does this mean? What does it mean for you as an entrepreneur? Where are the opportunities? Where should you be looking? Where should you be thinking about when building your company? And then as investors, thinking about in fundraising and investing as well. And we've got a great panel of co-hosts that are going to be joining us today to break all of this down for you. But a big thank you to the LaToken team and to Maria for making today's episode possible, as we couldn't do it without them. And make sure you check out LaToken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and introduce today's guest. Jason, you're up first. Welcome. A little background and intro for everybody.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, Kyle and LaToken. Glad to be back here. Propellant Ventures is focused on being bold and investing in companies that are really powering the future. We're focused on investing in pre-seed and early seed companies throughout the Midwest in the U.S. Across B2B industries such as healthcare, future work, fintech, edtech, and supply chain. Personally, I've been involved in the entrepreneurial and investment community in the Midwest for over 20 years. And I currently also run the Founder Institute chapter in Chicago. We were at one of the first 20 cities when it was launched. Now it's in over 220 cities around the world. So I saw value to bring it here to Chicago. So very involved in the whole community. So excited to be here and to talk more about the topic.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jason. Wendy, welcome back as well. It's always a pleasure. A little intro, a little background for everybody.
Hello, everyone. I'm feeling better. Second vaccine. Woohoo! Anyway, so thanks for having me back, Kyle and everybody, and seeing everybody here again. I'm Wendy Diamond. I'm the founder of Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization in 144 countries, officially proclaimed today on November 19th by U.S. Congress and celebrated in 144 countries. I'm also a partner in 4 funds. I just got into another one about a week ago, 3 of which are based on blockchain and disruptive technologies, Bitcoin. And another one that I just got into last week is EFF Ventures, which is Earth First Food Ventures and focused on alternative proteins, etc. And so definitely interested in this topic. Woohoo! And thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you, as always, for being here. Gary Fowler, the Grandmaster of Artificial Intelligence himself, ladies and gentlemen, is here on Cinco de Mayo. Graced by your presence, Gary. It's always a pleasure. If you can,
I think I need a margarita now. I got to tell you, I need a margarita. Anyhow, thanks, Kyle. It's great to see some familiar faces here today and friends. So my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur investor. I love artificial intelligence. I've done 17 companies, 2 unicorns, original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company. I'm the CEO, president, co-founder of GSD Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio. And we've believed in inclusion for a long time. Kyle, one of the board members of the NAACP, is on our board of advisors. Actually, he's going to be on a board of advisor of one of our other companies also. We believe that that companies that are culturally diverse, multicultural, intergenerational, and decentralized is really the wave of the future. And it's not only to do the right thing from an entitlement standpoint, but also, the surveys say that we build better companies that way, and it's the right thing to do.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. And last but not least, Jose, welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background for everybody.
Thank you, Carl, for having me on your show. And so my name is Jose Grasa. Today, I'm fully focused on this topic, business inclusion, fully invested into this area also. Why this topic? Because we feel that there's a huge opportunity and a huge gap in the market that is going to enable in the next 5 to 10 years that literally anybody that has no idea but has a dream, and that dream is having a lifestyle, and that lifestyle is having freedom of choice and also financial independence. And the only way you are going to make it happen as a labor taker is to build up your business, and that's why I'm investing into this area. So today I represent, as a chairman and CEO, BizMoney, and BizMoney is 100% focused on getting this job done. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Jose, let's kick it off with you. I mean, this is a topic that's very near and dear to your heart. It's something you've brought to our attention here at VCTV. Talk to us a little bit about why this is important and also just your view on business inclusion as well. You talk about a lifestyle that people want to have and should have the right to have, and the ability to have, I should say, pardon me. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and from your viewpoint. And again, this is a very close to dear topic for you.
So in essence, the statistics say that 20% of global population aims this type of lifestyle. That is getting much more enforced due to the millennial and younger generations. They value this lifestyle even more, and that lifestyle is having your own freedom of choice, what you would like to be or do in your life on a daily basis. And at the same time, that you have more or less let's say this financial independence, that you're not relying on being forced to do something that you really don't want. So in essence, only 10% today of global population is more or less a business owner. And there is space to increase that up to more or less those 20%. I don't believe that it will be achieved totally, but let's say 15%. But if we are talking about 5% more today, and also the replacement of existing business owners that are going to get out due to their age and new younger generations come in place, if we are talking about that, you already are talking about more or less about 500 million individuals on a global scale, which is a huge market. The problem here, and why we say business inclusion, is because 99% of these ladies and gentlemen, they don't come from, let's say, families that have ideal conditions to make it happen. They come from labor families. There is no business tradition at all. There is no knowledge on how to build it. They don't have the financial resources or the capabilities to understand what type of additional resources they need to have. And that's where the problem starts. And that's why, on a minimum in every country, 75% of these businesses close down. In the first year, in some countries, it can go up to more or less like 96, 97%, which is a huge percentage. So business inclusion is focused on solving this problem, at least a big tranche of it. And that's why it's so dear to me. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you. Thank you. I got, thank you for setting the stage for us as well, Jose. I'm seeing shaking heads left and right. Jason, let's start with you. I mean, when anything to add on to Jose's point, but also when it comes to business inclusion and helping those individuals that want to start a business for the first time, or, start selling a product or service, how can we work together as investors and as a community to help provide that? I know you're doing a few initiatives with the Founders Institute and otherwise, but how can we do this here in 2021?
Yeah, you mentioned Founder Institute. We are very focused on that. The Founder Institute cohorts are some of the most diverse founders I've ever worked with for the last 10 years. We have people from all backgrounds, all walks of life. So we are very intentional about growing our mentor pool and our founder pool as diverse founders. We partner with certain organizations to promote our program to their membership or their community, so we can get a different set of founders in our program. We also focus on finding mentors as well that come from different backgrounds. So that's one effort that me personally am involved in, but also the Founder Institute as a whole across the world. And so I think more programs like that are not necessarily Founder Institute, but more intentional programming to support the ecosystem like that. We have several efforts in Chicago underway around funding for these diverse founders. And Jose alluded to it a little bit before. Many of them don't come from backgrounds or families that have the capital to help get started. So we have a couple efforts that have been launched around funding to seed that friends and family round that the founders typically cannot get. So they come in real early, help get the initial capital to get the business going, and then obviously it grow, and then additional capital can come in. So we have a couple efforts along those lines. We also have other funds that will look at businesses that are further along, just like a typical fund would look at, but they're very focused on women, Black founders, and Latinx founders. So they're very intentional about investing in those types of founders. And so, again, we have a lot of great efforts here in Chicago. I know it's nationwide, worldwide, but we have such an upswing in that activity here in Chicago. So really excited to see the continuation of this, and having more funds think about that is important, even if you have an established fund, and thinking about that. And we at Propellant Ventures also back diverse founders as well.
Absolutely. And Wendy, I want to come to you next. Anything to add on to Jason, but also inclusion for those looking to be investors for the first time. I know you have some initiatives around this in general with your organization that you've put together. So talk to us a little bit about how we can continue to open up these worlds for anybody and everybody that may want to get involved.
Right. I think what we're seeing today is, especially, focused on women, right? Like is, one of the biggest minorities, is the fact that there are so many new funding platforms that are opening up for women founders, right? We've got WeFunder, you've got Plum Capital, you've got all these different, applications that you could literally get funding right away, right? But the thing is what I think is important is to realize that we need to bring awareness towards opportunity, and that people can, so that women founders and any diverse founders, is that it's important to realize that we can all do it. And it just, having that passion and that understanding that you just need to go online and find those opportunities, because there's so many out there. Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization I founded in 2013, when I learned, 1% of venture dollars were going towards women founders, right? And just all the statistics showed why we should be investing in women. And that's why I thought, my God, if we could create a simplified movement to educate the world of why it's so important to invest in women. And, one of the things, that, what we've seen today and what a lot of the statistics are showing is like less than 1%, like 0.25% of funds are going toward Black founders, right? And 0.37%, not even 1% are going to, to Latinx women founders. So, really looking at these statistics are really scary, right? Also, one of the things, I want to just bring up on is the biggest minority in the world is disabled people, right? Like I think it was last year, less than 20% of disabled people were employed, right? So how do we fix that, right? But we inspire them to become entrepreneurs, to be their own bosses, right? To figure out things, because now there's so much technology that they can work from home and do things and create things, and they're still so smart, right? People don't realize this. And so what is really important is bringing awareness towards these issues. And as mentioned before on the show, we just kicked off. It's super exciting. And these entrepreneurs it's like, I'm so impressed by them. We just launched the first ever Women Disability Entrepreneurship Cohort with an organization called TGI, which I thought about and which I created after meeting Judy Heumann, who was the woman behind the disability movement in America and got that law passed. And so we got that funded, and that cohort is moving forward, and I'm super excited to see that process. Now, regarding fundraising and things like that, I've been really supportive of a fund called the Walk Fund. It's Women of Color Fund, and I think it's really about how do we bring awareness towards these. And so I work really closely with hundreds and hundreds of some of the most wealthiest women in the world, part of this Women Moving Millions program, and a lot of them have come on board to support that fund. And especially with the funds I'm, involved with, and I'm a limited partner in, it's my, pleasure to really bring impactful companies, that are diverse founders and especially women-led companies to these, ventures, because at the end of the day, you need to have those, champions that are supporting you. And I think that everyone needs to, kind of focus on finding mentors and finding people, whether it's a college professor, whether it's someone with, to support you, but also find it in yourself to do the research, because there's so many incubators and accelerators that are supporting diverse founders.
You're absolutely right. I apologize. I was mid coffee sip when I transitioned the screen, so my
I thought you were going to
apologies.
choke there for a second, Kyle.
The coffee wasn't sure which way to go, so we almost had that happen, but we saved the camera. But I completely agree, Wendy, and thank you so much, and congratulations as well on the continued efforts that you and your team continue to put out there into the world to help those that are looking to build or invest. And Gary, coming to you, I mean, you're doing something similar as well. You have a fund, but you've also started expanding your accelerator program out towards areas like Africa, for instance, and otherwise, to start offering some of the services that you have access to. But I don't want to put words out there. I want to make sure you get the time to talk. Tell us a little bit about the fund and a little bit about GSV and kind of how you guys have started to move as well.
Yeah, so we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. Following what Wendy says, we do focus a bit on Africa. My grandmother was born in North Africa, actually. Her family had come over. They were relocated Greeks centuries ago, actually, and live in Alexandria in Egypt. So, I saw some of the things. I grew up, my grandmother spoke Arabic and Greek, and it was interesting. I thought it was kind of normal, but until I got in elementary school. So, we look at it a little bit differently. One is, Kyle, we believe in intergenerational teams. So people with the gray hair, because, on one side, you have all these millennials, the folks coming up through that are developing these companies. But one of the things you need the credibility, you need the context. It's extremely important now, especially during the pandemic, to have those contacts and credibility, the history, so that they can Google your name to see out who you are and the kind of things that you've done. So, and if you look at the surveys, Deloitte did a survey recently that showed that diversity and inclusion equals more talent. They surveyed about 10,000 people, and the net is people wanted to work for those kind of companies that are diverse. So, and if we look at it, we talk about intergenerational, multicultural, decentralized teams. So if we look at diversity, we look at innovation resilience. You need to look at things differently. Boston Consulting Group did a study recently also that showed that companies with above average diversity generated about 45% of their total revenues from innovation. Well, less diverse companies, it was around 25%. So it's proven that diversity, having a different angle on it. And then the third part of it is diverse companies and inclusive companies just perform better. So, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. It's like, keep it simple, stupid. You want to go down through and do that. We also, there's one thing about talking about it, Kyle, but we put our money where our mouth is. I've been working 15 years with Black urban community. In fact, we're one of the few companies out there that has a member of the NAACP, a board member of the NAACP on our board. We also work with female entrepreneurs. My accelerator in Russia, we actually gave scholarships to half the class for female entrepreneurs to be able to help. And quite frankly, some of them have been the most successful. We've carried that forward in Africa. I'm really proud to say that Primu is one of our companies. Primu is a company that's she's originally from East Africa. She's a Zulu and moved to South Africa. So we're actually going down and nurturing those relationships. We look at it, keeping it simple again. There are 1.2 billion people in Africa, and really incredible talent. We deal in AI and quantum, fintech, especially. I know we've talked about it a few times, but we're finding. I have a company that's coming to get together with me in 1 week from Kenya that's already doing almost $1 million a month in sales. It's explosive growth opportunities there. So, on one side, it's not about entitlement. It's about opportunity. And as I say many, many times, we're trying to create businesses together. We want to grow. Yes, having an impact fund. We're working on a $100 million impact fund out of Atlanta. And I've got some other interesting things happening over the next 2 months that I'll talk about. But we're fully focused on it. And with the population of the planet growing from 8 billion to 13 billion, and a lot of that growth in Africa, we need to support it. At the same time, female entrepreneurs, the urban Black community, Hispanics, intergenerational. We need to bring more of the people that have done it, that have those contacts, back into the workforce to help, because they have the credibility to help us pull it off. Let's talk about mixed teams.
Mm-hmm. And with that being said, let's talk about industries. Your focus on artificial intelligence, Wendy on blockchain and pets and food. I cannot forget both of those. She's also a new LP in a fund as well. Jason's focused on ed tech and fintech. So I want to come on the industry level with each of you here for a moment and talk a little bit about how those industries are opening up. I mean, when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrencies or digital currencies, I'll say, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity that has been opened up. Wendy, do you want to share maybe a little bit more of what you're seeing? Because from my view and what I'm seeing in the industry daily, it seems like more people that either wanted to start a business or wanted to get some kind of generational wealth, as Gary had mentioned, have been able to access that in ways that previously had not been able to, thanks to that technology, which will lead into others. But what are you seeing in that industry as well? Again, blockchain and digital currencies.
Well, so we have monthly meetings that I get to see a lot of different companies every month. One of the funds is over $1 billion, because we've done so well in this sector. One's over $1 billion, another one's $500 million. And so there's a lot of money right now that's being, that is available to entrepreneurs, right? Especially in this blockchain space. And so when looking at it, I've seen actually, personally, and, I'm part of a lot of the groups like Global Women in Blockchain and et cetera. So I could be on top of a lot of the stuff that's happening in this industry. But, I would say that it's probably 50% of the companies that we're reviewing have definitely diverse founders. And so I think that, there's a lot more that people realize in this one sector, where you're seeing there's so many different groups and foundations supporting and bringing awareness towards people in this community. So I've seen, and there's definitely a few in the last month that have been funded. So I think that, what we're seeing now is a lot more people in this space specifically. And the pet space, come on, woo-hoo! Women make 85% of the consumer choices in the household. There are probably even more women founders in this pet space than there are. And, as I'm invested in 3 myself, and I'm definitely, love this whole space, I see a super important, aspect of really supporting women and founders, specifically because of the fact that they are so close to the buying decisions, right? And so, I think, like the pet space, the blockchain space, and the food space goes into the whole buying decisions of women. I mean, whether it's a millennial or it's someone my age, I won't go discuss that, but, someone my age, we want to know what we're eating, right? And this plays a big part in the founders, is they really care about women are more apt to care about health and wellness and about food, right? And so that's where you're seeing a lot as well. And as you look at it, you've got some of the unicorns, woo-hoo, that are women in the food space, right? You've got Angie, who's got Angie's Boom Chicka Pop, who sold that, for $300 million. And you've got a lot of these companies now that are coming out, especially in the vegan, vegetarian realm as well. So I think that, we're seeing a lot more in our sectors, and blockchain more so in the tech space than other aspects of the tech space.
Thank you, Wendy. Jason, I'm coming to you on fintech on a broader perspective, and then also education. We know education has changed dramatically, but also a lot more platforms have opened up and there's a lot more activity. So talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing in fintech and education, or ed tech, in these areas as well.
Yeah, there's an acceleration of people building companies in these spaces. Just, the pandemic accelerated adoption of certain technologies, and people from all areas are building these companies. We have a Fintech accelerator in Chicago for women as one example. It's a partnership with a bank. And so there's a lot of efforts just to help build that piece in particular. But yeah, I mean, I think investors realize, hey, there's money to be made now in ed tech. And so there's a lot more people doing things in ed tech because, as we know, children and higher learning educations had to go with technology to do remote learning. And so that, I believe that's here to stay. And some schools that were behind that are now hopefully up to speed with that. And so now they can continue adding remote learning as an option. I teach a class at DePaul University in Chicago, and DePaul offers all kinds of options now. Remote, there's going to be blended learning. You have to have options available for students if they're not comfortable being in person. But I believe it also opens up the door to have other students enrolled in your school that may not ever be able to be there in person. So it really just opens up everything. I also think for the corporate ed tech is also important, especially with a lot of remote workforce these days, and just providing additional tools to really support these companies and employees. Coursera, for example, big ed tech player, is focused on corporate ed tech, and so there are big players in that space. So I continue to see ed tech as really a growing market, and as I mentioned before, really an opportunity for investors to make money in the space now. There was a pretty good acquisition in the Midwest not too long ago on an ed tech company. So I'm very bullish on those spaces.
Thank you, Jason. And Gary, I want to come down to you around artificial intelligence. I think quantum is probably a little early for right now, but in terms of artificial intelligence, I mean, how has that industry, from your view, really worked to help include more in the world? I mean, we had GTP3, we've seen more no-code solutions that have come up, but from your view as an investor and also an industry expert, truly, I tease with your intro, but just as well as I do how deep you are in this space. So share a little bit more about AI if you could.
Well, I mean, the no-code, low-code is, stunning example to be able to bring the capabilities to other groups that maybe haven't had the opportunity to have the educational experiences. So, I mean, it's just, we're bringing it out, Kyle. This is, I wrote an article in Forbes called The Democratization of Opportunity. Nikola Tesla's dream comes true. And that's basically where we are with it. So, in terms of artificial intelligence, I can tell you what's happened in Nigeria. There are 206 million people there. I have 6 Nigerian companies. So we have 2 pieces. One is I have my accelerator, GSD Labs. The other part, portfolio companies. And I got to tell you, I'm astounded by the quality of the talent in AI, unsupervised, semi-supervised AI, and especially in the fintech vertical. It's incredible because they have not had the luxury of having the infrastructural dinosaurs there. They've been able to skip some steps. So it's, what AI is doing is really leveling the playing field across the board. It makes it easier to access. It makes us all be able to, if you have some type of technology to access it, allows us to really level the playing field for each and every one of us. And of course, with all the data, and I've said this many times, 40 zettabytes of data. If you took CDs or DVDs and stacked them one on top of another, it would go 29 times between the Earth and the Moon. And that's grown at 68% per year. We're in a state of infobesity. We need these kind of technologies, these not smart but intelligent assistants, to be able to help us, and to be able to help us all kinds of ways, whether it's developing code or helping us with agriculture, or really get extracting information from the system, and more importantly, giving us some clues of how to be able to use it. So it's leveling the playing field. And it's, in Kenya, I have one of the top AI companies we're working with in Kenya, South Africa, and it's not just there. I mean, Europe, Russia, we have companies all over. But what I'm really proud and excited about the fact that on a continent with 1.2 billion people are moving forward. The challenges, Kyle, is, it's like going to some of these countries. It's not so easy to get in. There are some, sometimes It's not, I've had people say, well, is it safe? That kind of thing. It's a different culture. You're dealing with it at a different level of development. The developing countries. So you got to, accept it and look at it from a different perspective, not as an American or Canadian or from Portugal or Italy, but you got to look at it as from their eyes. And when you do that, you can really do things differently. I know with Russia, when I first went over there and we started the first accelerator, and initially, people weren't that excited about it. Here's Americans coming over and doing it, and then all of a sudden, female entrepreneurs started coming out of the woodworks. People came in from all walks of life. Actually, I had my first African Russian entrepreneur, and she did a fantastic job from Angola. So I saw it grow, and it's happening around the world now. And we got to be a part of it, Kyle, because we need these kind of different ideas, these different viewpoints, and different markets if we're going to succeed. We're all in this together. We have one small, tiny planet, right? As your friend Christopher Altman says, we need to be able to figure out how to work together better, more efficiently, and more effective.
Absolutely. And with that, Jose, I want to come down to you. I mean, as we have, entrepreneurs and investors and just individuals of all shapes and sizes from all around the world and backgrounds, I mean, what advice would you want to give to each of them if they're looking to, start a company for the first time or start investing and making their first investment? I mean, Jose, what would you want them to hear as an investor yourself to get them motivated, to know that there's resources, to know that there's something out there that they are included in one way, shape, or form?
I think the biggest problem we are facing today is that the society from one side gives them a lot of hope, but on the other side, in reality, the execution of it and the outcome is not what they expect. And I think that's the biggest problem that we are facing today. With all respect to my friends and colleagues on this panel, they're doing excellent work, and they are involved in a lot of things, and they help a lot of people. That's really very good. The problem is that the whole investment community together on a global scale, right, is not able to cope with the demand, and that is the real problem. So whatever we do, the whole investment community today basically covers much less than 0.1%, and this is the real problem. So I get tons of emails every day on my inbox, and they always ask me like this: I heard about this, I heard about that, they raised this, they raised that, they did this, they did that. How does it happen that I'm not able to do it? Right? And the reason is that simply the demand is so high. We are talking about a huge amount of multi-millions of people that basically aim to get into this area. And the offer is so limited that at the end, the majority simply is not going to be selected. Even if we're talking about an accelerator, right? It's still a small amount compared to what is needed. Probably if you do it locally, it can have a very interesting impact. But if you look at on a global scale, even on country-wise, I can tell you that the numbers are not very good. So the first thing they need to do is getting themselves very well prepared and acquiring that knowledge. And that knowledge can be as simple as how does accounting work, or how can I really fundraise? Now, even if you know how it works, you still need to be realistic, that you need to be very persistent and make it happen. So my first advice would be is like this: the money is available, it's limited. You need to become on the top very best today if you want to get to that money. But the money by itself will really not solve your problem. So you need to be hands-on, kick off that business, whatever you can. Start bootstrapping it. Try to get it to at least free cash flows. That's where you need to get it, and that's the hardest part. get into execution. Don't talk too much about all the aspects, not so important. Get it done. If you get the job done, I can guarantee you that you get into a top level fit that is going to increase your success rate drastically. It can even happen that you don't need the fund to raise funds to move forward, and you can do it by yourself. So this is my advice. Don't give up, put yourself to it, but also be realistic that it's not easy to get there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jose. And where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where most people find me, either on BizMoney or on Jose Grasa. And if you go to my profile, you will find my email there, and I think even my phone number is there. So I'm an open networker, so you can find me everywhere.
That is true, ladies and gentlemen. You can find him everywhere. He's everywhere. He's distributed, if you will. Thank you very much, Jose. Jason, to you, same question. Advice for those out there, and then also where can they find you? And Founders Institute, which is another great resource that they can take advantage of.
Yeah, I would say there are a lot of resources, as we know, out there. Do your research and be proactive and try to get involved in some of these programs to support diverse founders, whether it's funding or programs like the Founder Institute that support diverse founders as well. But there are resources, and as I said, be proactive. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. Also, my email is jason@propellant.vc. You can also contact me on the Propellant Ventures website as well. So thank you again for having me, Kyle and LaToken. Glad to be here.
Thank you Thank you very well. Thank you very much as well, Jason. Gary, to you, advice, and then also where can everyone find you and GSDV as well?
Yeah, so I mean, this is an exciting time, and there's incredible opportunities out there with all the data around us. So startups from all over the world, really, this is a democratization of opportunity for each and every one of us, and we need to look positively and move forward. Think about intergenerational, multicultural, and decentralized teams. It'll help you make the world a better place, and also help make your innovation, the probability of getting funded, also a lot higher. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and I have a couple of shows every week. Check them out. Have interesting people like some of the ones on our panels today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. Last but not least, Wendy, close us out. Where can everyone advice, and then also where can everyone find you and your organization as well?
My advice is there's no better time than now to follow your dream if you want to become an entrepreneur. I always say to everybody, intern, volunteer, try to really embrace yourself in whatever you're trying to do. And people are more open now to allowing that. And I think that's really important to get experience and to really understand the ecosystem that you're trying to get into. Also resources. There are so many resources to start a company. And I'm excited to say we're relaunching Women's Entrepreneurship Day, our women'seday.org. We are going to be launching our new website with the whole resources of all the free and ways to start your own business, whether it's in legal or business, et cetera, so that everyone has a framework to start their own new businesses. And we're excited to have that launched in about, I think, 90 days, they said. Let's hope, web people. But anyway, and you can always find me at wendydiamond.com, where you can get all my social media and see all the different funds and everything that I'm involved with. Thank you so much for having me. Woo-hoo!
Woohoo! Thank you all very much as well for participating in today's panel, but also just for the advice and all that you do with your organizations, the institutes, the education, the time, everything that you give to all those that are looking to either build or start investing as well. And to our audience, thank you as well for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, share, and also like today's episode. Check out the archive on LaToken.com to hear from today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. And also, if you're interested in in starting a business or continuing the conversation with one of our investors in the area that they focus in, do reach out. We're all available, as we've mentioned, 24/7, 365 online. Would love to hear from you and continue the conversation as best we can. But make sure you add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about, so it can be effective for all sides. And with that, everyone have a wonderful day. A big thank you to the LaToken team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Make sure you reach out to all of these great investors as well, and we'll talk to you soon. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for more VCTV.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye, everybody.